Alright, so in this part of our tutorial, we are going to add some collisions to our asteroid and our player. So first, let's start with our player. Um, I am going to create double click on the player, click on add component, and then we are looking for colliders, right? So we'll just search for collider 2D, and you can see a bunch of colliders, right? There is box collider. If I click on that, that looks just like a box, a boundary in a box shape. If I look for capsule collider, that is basically a capsule, but because this player is kind of circular, it turns into a circle. But as you can see, I can move it up or down to make it like capsule-like shape. Then we have circle collider, that is basically a circle, and we have some other ones like composite collider, edge collider, polygon collider. So edge collider is handy when you are adding some sort of surface. So it's just like a line, and you can edit this in a many different shape. So it's really handy when we are creating a platformer game or something like that, but for our case it's not suitable. What's next? The next one is polygon collider. This one is going to give you more precise collision, but the problem is that because there is more shape inside, it's more costly for the computer, right? So it's going to be computationally costly. So yeah, for our purpose we can use any of these two, box collider or circle collider. I'm going to use circle collider, and then I'm going to explain these controls. The first one is edit collider. You can click on this small icon here that will give you four dots, and you can drag these dots to kind of scale the collision, right? And let's do the same for all the other stuff. So we have the asteroid. Let's add a circle collider there and do this. I'm going to fast forward and do this for all of them, but let's see the bullet. um, let's see the bullet, and then I'm going to do the other one a little bit faster. So the bullet one, I am using the box collider, and we can use, just like circle collider, we can use the edit collider. All these other options, I'm not talking about it because we don't need it, but I have a physics course in my YouTube channel. You can look into that and see what this basically does. So you can see into different sort of physics component from that tutorial series. Okay, so yeah, if you are interested, go ahead and check it out. All right, so I'm just going to fast forward and add collider to all the other asteroids. Okay, awesome. So what's next? The next part is a little bit tricky. So not tricky, it's actually basically when we add collider into our game objects, they don't collide with each other if um, if either of them does not have any rigid body. What does that mean? So collision, you already guessed it. Collision is basically the the property of hitting into something, right? So for example, if we try to get the result of a hit between our player and the asteroid, for example, then we need to have a collision detection technique into both of them. Otherwise, it's not going to collide with each other. So that is what the collider have been doing. But if neither of them has any rigid body, it's not going to work. So I'm going to show you the example. If I now play the game, if I go into the asteroid, as you can see, they're not colliding with each other, right? Because my player and the asteroid, neither of them has any rigid body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my player and add a rigid body to my player. And this is it 2D game, so every physics component that we're going to use is the 2D one. Okay, so rigid body. And now if I try, oh, by the way, there is a few property. Let's talk a little bit about them, and then we can move to the example. Okay, first, body type dynamic. So there can be three different type of body: dynamic, kinematic, and static. So dynamic means we are going to apply all the physics behavior to our player. Kinematic means there is no physics, and static means the physics should be there, but there should not be any movement. Okay, so for example, in a ground we could add a rigid body which is not going to apply any gravity and those sort of stuff. For a moving component which has all the like basic physics applications, always use dynamic. The material, there is a physics material thing. We're not going to talk about physics material in this course, so if you're interested, look into my YouTube channel, and there is a physics course in 2D. You can learn something about physics in from there. Okay, so this is going to be simulated. There is no auto mass. Auto mass is like it calculates the mass according to the size of the collision. Okay, for our case, we have applied the mass as 1, so that is all good for now. Linear drag 0. So linear drag means when it's moving, how much drag it should take. And there is angular drag. Similarly, what is the angular drag when it's moving? The other one is gravity scale. This one is important. We are going to make it 0 because we don't want to apply any gravity to our player, right? And all the other things are default. You don't have to check any of them. But if you're interested in learning more about physics, I highly recommend you to go to the free course in my YouTube channel. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to now play this and see what happens now. If I now try to collide with these guys, you can see I'm colliding, right? Okay, so yeah, that's good. Next, we are going to check for collision detection, right? So we have the collider. Now we need to find a way to check that if they collided. Okay, so we need to do that from our script. So let's go back to our bullet script. Oh, not the bullet, the asteroid script. In here we are going to say void on collision, enter 2D. So that means this method will be automatically called by Unity when you collide with something. This asteroid, when this asteroid collides with something else, then we are going to get some information from this method. Okay, so I'm going to print out something here, some text, random text, and now if I play, you can see in my console in here it's getting printed, right? Every time I hit something, it's getting printed. Actually, if I make it bigger, you can understand in a better way. So yeah, so the collision, basically on collision enter, is um, is called by Unity automatically when we hit something from that particular game object's point. So for our case, that is the asteroid. So when we are hitting with the asteroid, we are getting this message. So what we're going to do here, try to break this down a little bit first. So on collision enter 2D, this is the built-in method. You have to make sure the name is exactly the same, otherwise it's not going to work, because Unity is looking for exactly this name, and if the name does not match, then Unity does not call this method, so collision detection will not work. These sort of methods are called event function or event method, such as update, start. So you need to make sure that the spellings are correct for these methods, because these methods are automatically called by Unity's event system. So we need to make sure that they are basically spelled correctly. Anyways, so this is the name of the method, and then we have something called collision to the other. So this is the argument, right? Remember when we talked about method has a name, a and some argument, and then we also have a return type. For our case, the return type is void, right? In this case, so this will basically define that which game object this asteroid is currently colliding with. If the asteroid is colliding with some player, the reference of that player should go inside this other. Okay, if the asteroid, for example, is hitting with a bullet, the reference of the bullet should go in here. Okay, so let's try to code it. I'm going to say if other dot transform dot name, okay, is equal to player. What does this means? And we are again using that transform thing. So this thing is really important, right? So transform is a commonly used stuff in Unity. Anyways, so what we are trying to do here is we are going to check that if the name of this other game object that collided with asteroid is player, that means if we are hitting with this player, you can see the name of my game object is player. So this is exactly what it does. Now if that happens, we're just going to, for now, destroy the game object. I'm going to destroy other dot game object. Also we're going to destroy this one, right? So if we do destroy game object, that means we are destroying the asteroid. If we are saying other dot game object, remember other means the player, right? So this is the thing. If we are hitting with the player, that time we are going to say other means the player. So other dot game object will mean the player itself. And if I just do game object, that means we're looking for the asteroid game object, the asteroid that is colliding with the player. Let's check and see if it's actually working. You see it's working. So yeah, so that's all about collision detection with our player and the asteroid. Now I want you to think about how we can make it so that when the bullet hits the asteroid gets destroyed. Okay, so think about it and I'll show you the solution in the next class.